And welcome to a North Star Journey Live and Sahan Community Live event. I'm Nina Moini, host of Minnesota Now on NPR News, and I'm here tonight with my co-host Alberto Villafan, the digital producer at Sahan Journal. We are going to be discussing an important topic on the minds of many young people and all people today. That's college. We know the federal application for federal student aid, better known as FAFSA, opened in late September, and many college early decision deadlines start next month, and makes it feel like a good time to explore this question, and that is, again, is college still worth it? So we have folks listening to this conversation at different places along their decision-making process. Some students might be weighing whether to apply to a community college versus maybe a four-year university. Other students might be looking to get hands-on experience at a trade school. And others might be considering just skipping post-secondary education altogether and becoming an influencer instead. So we know that some students are feeling completely unsure, too, of what to do after graduation. And that's okay. Those are all okay, right, Alberto?
Of course. It's perfectly normal. There are so many paths we could be taking. So tonight we'll be talking with a group of young people and education professionals about the many post-secondary options that are available and how you and those you know can find the right path for themselves. So let's start introducing some of our fantastic panelists. First off, we have Frida Torres Macal. She's an independent social media marketer and the founder of That Social Invite, an agency helping women-owned businesses and professionals with social media and digital strategy. Thank you for being here, Frida.
And next we have Marquan Harper. Marquan is a sophomore at the University of St. Thomas, double majoring in digital media arts and marketing management. He's also the founder of Adore Hospitality, an event organizing company for young people in the Twin Cities. Thanks for being with us, Marquan.
Also, we have Jalea Johnson here. Jalea is enrolled at the Finishing Trades Institute of the Upper Midwest as a second-year glazer apprentice for the Empire House. The Empire House is a women-owned and operated commercial glass company in Mounds View. And it is great to have you here with us tonight. Thank you.
Next, we have Ali Osman with us on stage. Ali is a counselor at South High School in Minneapolis. He's currently pursuing licensure as a licensed professional clinical counselor. Ali has worked in the education field for the past 12 years. Thanks for being here, Ali.
And last but certainly not least, we have Jessica Yang all the way at the end. Jessica is the Senior Implementation Manager at Get Ready, Gear Up, Minnesota, a program administered through the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. Previously, she oversaw projects at Minneapolis Public Schools, St. Paul Public Schools, and Job Corps. It's great to have you here with us tonight, Jessica. Thank you. And thank you all for joining.
Let's give them a round of applause, everybody. Thank you so much again for sharing your time with us and your expertise. We really appreciate it. We want to talk first, this first question. I want to kick it to Frida, Marquan, and Jalea. But let's start with you all because you all graduated high school more recently and had to make these decisions about sort of post-graduation. So Frida, let's start with you. You own your own business, which is so impressive and awesome and takes a lot of bravery. Can you just describe your path to getting here?
Yeah, absolutely. So like many students nowadays, was kind of weighing in my options of what I really wanted to pursue post-high school. I always had an interest in creative things. I was very much into graphic design and photography, and I always found myself that throughout those process, I would always try to twist it to make it some sort of ad campaign. So if I had a photography or a graphic design project, instead of, maybe going out and taking pictures of nature, I would try to make it into an ad, take pictures of products and things like that. So I knew that I wanted to pursue something post-high school that allowed me to be creative while still teaching me about the business side of things. How can we make businesses work for people in the digital space? So I was looking at different programs in high school of, four-year college. That was always kind of like my idea of what my life would look like post-high school. I never really doubted that up until I started to really look at what I would be learning, right? So I started to get more educated into, okay, what does the curriculum actually look like? What does that investment actually look like? And for me, I started to feel like, oh, I feel like I would like to have an experience where I can get more hands-on work experience, maybe sooner than later. Than maybe if I went into four-year college, I would have to wait 1 year, 2 years, 3 years to really get to learning what I wanted to do and really have the time to practice it. During that time, it was COVID, so I started to see how other people on social media started to find different avenues for one, learning digital skills, but also what does career look like for them, and not for everyone it looks like, going from college to a agency, work or something like that. For them, it kind of meant that they were going to pursue different paths where they could be freelancers, in the space, whether that was like a creative freelancer or a strategy freelancer. And I got exposed to that world during my search for, whether I was going to go to college or not. And I felt very drawn to it because I felt like I wanted to bet on myself in terms of like building some sort of business. Like I always kind of have that inside me. And I also felt like I could gain a lot of the knowledge that I needed to work in social media marketing, which is essentially kind of what I had most of my interest in, through different courses online and through really hands-on experience. So I really made it a point to pursue this path of being a freelancer, specifically as a social media manager. And I think that's kind of like the nice thing about this digital world, right, is we get to connect with business owners in, levels where they might have like a small business and they need someone to help them with their social media. And they're not necessarily looking for someone that just came out of college. Some of them are just like, hey, I need these skills. Can you help me? Do you see my vision? And that's really what I tried to pursue. So long story short, pretty much that whole realization of what I wanted to do mixed with this desire that I had to really get hands-on experience. I put myself out there to different business owners, and I was learning online different skills, and I eventually connected with my first client through social media. So that pretty much led me to continue to pursue that as kind of my career, if that makes sense.
Yeah, social media is so powerful, what you can do with it.
Thank you, Frida. Marquand, you chose the traditional college path. I understand that there was always an expectation in your family to attend college, yeah? So what was your main influence in wanting a 4-year degree?
Yeah, it's a great question. Well, education goes back all the way to my great-grandfather in college. And then my grandmother went to Delta State University in Mississippi, and she really made it an expectation for my family. So people after me, like my mom and my uncle, to go to college, pursue education. But for me especially, I love learning. And that's one reason why I wanted to go to a 4-year traditional route.
Thank you. It makes sense. There's a long legacy of it all, right?
100%.
Now, Jalea, you chose a different path. You're entering the trades, and for people who don't know about it, could you tell us a little bit about the school that you're at, the Finishing Trades Institute of the Upper Midwest, and what drew you to the program as opposed to some of the other options out there?
Yeah, so I was a very put to myself kind of person. I always found interest into building things, and just going through high school, I could not just stay in my seat. I had to get up and move. I was fidgety, and I just couldn't stay focused on one thing at a time. So when just one day they just offered it to me, they're like, you're not finding interest in anything, can we offer you maybe an FTIUM course, just to kind of see if you were interested in it and if you would like to maybe join. And so we got interviewed, me and I want to say around 5 to 10 other classmates, where interviewed, and our instructors chose some of us, and they continued to teach us for around 5 months for the second semester of school, learning industrial painting, commercial painting, drywall and taping, and glazing / glassworking. Through the program, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know. I was working as a waitress, and I just have to make it through life. That's all. Yeah. But I just kind of sat there, and everybody was like, oh, I want to be a painter. This was so fun. In the back of my head, I was like, oh, we're painting white on everything over and over again. Okay, maybe not. The drywall, it was just dusty and sticky for me, so it just didn't catch my attention like that. Industrial painting, that was definitely my second option. It's where they blast sand on but on bridges and like giant metal buildings to like scrape off all the paint and then repaint it all over again over the water or way up in the sky. So I was kind of like, oh, that's a good option. And then glazing caught my eye. I don't know why. I don't know what spiked, but I was like, I want that one. We just started building the frames in class, and we just started installing the windows, and we got to cut the windows and make different shapes. I cut little heart, and I was like, yeah, this is fun. This is different. And then they were like, oh, offering welding into the program as an apprentice, and I was like, I want to do welding also. So I was like, why not? But it's really fun. It's really helpful, especially if you are to yourself. You will get out there. They won't judge you for being yourself. And if you are ever bullied or anything, a snap of a finger and it's just done. And you get to feel free of who you are. So, yeah.
And these are real practical skills that you're genuinely applying every day. Yeah.
Yes.
It's huge. Ali, in your work as a counselor at South High School in Minneapolis, you must hear a lot of similar stories to our last three guests, right? Many students struggle with creating a post-secondary plan for a variety of reasons, be it financial, be it family pressure, be it mental health challenges, or the lack of desire to even continue learning. But Ali, how do you guide students that are struggling to make a post-secondary plan?
Yeah, thank you. And thanks everyone who's here. As you can see, there is no single path. For the people that just talked, went through different paths, and we always prioritize students' needs and what they want. And as a counselor, I've seen a lot of students who can come to my office and talk about their post-secondary options. So we do a lot of work with the students who are seniors usually that are, going to their post-secondary options, and we work through with them whatever they're thinking of, whether it's college, trade schools, apprenticeships, military, career. So we always make sure, we tell them, whatever you wanted, that's you choose that, and we will help you navigate how you can reach that goal. And yeah, some students will share with us like that they have family pressure, telling my mom or my dad wants me to become so and so, and I don't feel like doing that. So we always tell them go back and have an honest conversation with your family, and just meet them in the common ground, because we know your family wants you the best, and maybe this is how they see things, and they don't understand what you're capable of doing. So just go back and yeah, it creates a lot of mental health challenges around that, in terms of students feeling those pressures of, cost and family pressure or peer pressure. But we always tell them there are a lot of ways that you can pay for college. There's a lot of scholarships available. There are institution scholarships that students can apply. And as you started earlier, the financial aid, opened this month. A lot of students are, working on their financial aid to support financially if they're choosing to go to the college path. But, and then the bottom line is like, you're not behind if you don't start college, when you're 18. There's always a time, and I always give advice to students, like when you have the right mindset, that's when you can go and start your college or career, whatever you want to decide.
Thank you, Ali.
And Jessica, I don't know if you can relate to some of what Ali is saying, because you also work with districts and schools to help assist students and their families with some of these post-secondary and career pathway options in your role as the Senior Implementation Manager of Get Ready, Gear Up, Minnesota. Tell us a little bit about what you think about what Ali was saying and how you would build on that, and just in terms of how you are supporting these families, because it is sometimes an entire family decision.
And thank you for sharing, Ali. I think so much of this resonates from what we've heard with our partners, our district school partners, students, and especially our parents, family, and guardians, where students, when they do enter their senior year, they're not sure what they want to do. And giving themselves that grace to be okay and being apologetic that it's okay that I don't know. And a lot of this starts young. As a program, we began working with students when they enter middle school in 6th and 7th grade. What we've noticed is, there's this gap in knowledge and awareness around the different post-secondary options that are available to you. This doesn't just include the traditional 2- and 4-year route. This may be an apprenticeship, entrepreneurship, the military. For some of our students, this is a transitional program for those who may be ELL, IEP. It's wide and vast through there. And what are those steps that they may need to know as they're progressing through middle school and high school? But also, I think as you had pointed, Ali, it's how do we involve parents, family, and guardians in this process? Much of these conversations need to happen at home as well. This really is a community effort that, schools are involved in, local communities are engaged in, that family and guardians are involved in, to continue to support students so they are familiar with the options available to them. I think one thing that comes across quite a bit is there's this concern and I will say a mystery behind how to pay for all of this. And being here in the state of Minnesota, there are a number of financial aid opportunities, and ensuring that students, parents, and guardians are aware of that. Here in the state, I'll list off a few from the North Star Promise Scholarship that's available for our families here. So for our families, households that make less than $80,000, they would be able to attend an in-state institution here tuition-free. That is any institution that would take a FAFSA. In addition, for a number of our communities, there are scholarships, grants offered here through the state. There's that commitment with the Minnesota Office of Higher Education to continue to support them long-term. And for adults that may be looking to return into education. So not those who are immediately, exiting high school, but those looking to continue later on in life.
It's so important to know what resources are out there and to make pathways for people to get that information when it isn't always in your face and readily available. So I can really appreciate that, Jessica. And this figure surprised me because I sort of thought that ever since the pandemic and maybe even before that, people were really thinking differently about their postgraduate plans. But here we have that Minnesota State colleges and universities saw a jump in enrollment this fall, about a 7% bump from enrollment last spring. I wonder what you make of that, Jessica.
Yeah, so there are reports that have come out recently. Here in the state of Minnesota, we are in our 3rd year of the direct admissions program, for those that are familiar with that. Really partnering with a number of institutions of higher education and high schools throughout the state to make this application process more seamless for our Minnesota seniors this year. For those that are participating, it's not as rigorous as a process and nearly not as intimidating. That's what we're hearing from students as well, is, they will be provided a tiered list of applications that they are eligible for in terms of colleges and universities here in state, and working closely with their counselors around this. So when they do get to spring, they are receiving direct admissions into institutions without having to apply for 5 to 10 different institutions that we've seen previously in this past. This really has mitigated that barrier that we've seen in the past around the application process. In addition, the financial aid and how to pay for that.
So just more accessibility, an easier way, more of a focus on making sure people can even apply to become enrolled in school. That's fascinating. As a reminder, you're listening to a community conversation that's a partnership between NPR News and Sahan Community Live. I'm Nina Moyni, here with my co-host Alberto Villafan, and we're talking about the many post-secondary options available for high school students today. I want to come back to you, Jalea. Now that you're kind of on this path and you went through all the other things that you didn't want to do and sort of trial and error found your way, but now that you're doing the work here as a glazer, how is it preparing you for the future that you want? Because it might not be the last thing, that Jalea pursues. Probably not. But are you gaining things from it that you're like, wow, I can really use this forever?
That's a really great question. So kind of just going through it, I'm working with older glazer women, to just get a personal connection with them. And definitely definitely
okay.
With different trades. Right now I'm working at the Northwestern Hospital, Abbott, and there's from welders, painters, everyone is just there, and it really brings out a joy into seeing how other people act, the jokes, and just different personalities that are being shown, that it doesn't have to be pushy and get out there and you have to get this done. Yes, there are deadlines, but we can always find joy in everything, and knowing the fact that we are making an extension of the line of building really, it puts my mind at ease, is knowing that people have more rooms to go to, more children to be brought into the world, more people to be tested, to get cured, and just get better all around. And maybe more opening positions for people who don't have work at the moment, and more students to learn about different things. So knowing that I'm helping getting a different point of view of what I never seen before is awesome. And maybe if I catch a leak in my window, I know how to fix it. So it's a lot. It's a working aspect and a personal aspect that I am getting a grasp on, of knowing more about. And if I don't like it, then they're not gonna tie me down and say, oh, stay here, we're not going anywhere. Or you don't have to feel bad. You can go and pursue different things. While I am an apprentice, I am going through school 2 days out of the 2 days out of the month, and we are learning different things, and we are getting better at what we are here to do. And we get to go through college courses, and we get to get connections to learn how to be more confident of our words and our knowledge of what we are doing. That is in the third year. I'm only in my second, so my apologies. But yeah, it's a different perspective on what we are learning, and just getting a grasp on different subjects and things that we are being taught in the school and also on field.
Well, I'm really loving hearing from you and really appreciate your perspective, Julia. I think that what I'm hearing you say too is you're learning what you value and what's important to you along the way. And it really sounds like part of that is helping people. You like knowing that what you're doing is setting other people up for success. So these are great things to pay attention to.
It's impressive to say the least. Frida, you work with women-owned businesses and professionals in Minnesota and got beyond, I assume. Clearly, you have a very interesting day-to-day. Can you break down what a typical day looks like for you?
Yes. My day looks very different. I have my hands in a lot of different places, as pretty much like any solo entrepreneur can relate, anyone really pursuing something that's taking up so much of your time. Really, my days consist of meetings with clients, figuring out what their marketing goals are for that month. I work with a lot of solo entrepreneurs as well, so they're also managing a lot of the day-to-day of their business. My work is to take off social media off their plates, right? So meetings with clients, figuring out what their goals are, and then figuring out how we're going to put that into social media. How are we going to translate those goals into the posts that we're doing, as well as, the content that we're doing. So some days might look like me editing all day, pretty much, videos, photos, graphics. Other days might be a little bit more social, where I actually get to visit clients and I'm interacting with their patients. I have some clients that they're in like the beauty industry, so they have like their own clients coming in, and I kind of get a glimpse of what their own behind the scenes looks like, and just capturing content. So it can look like a variety of things, really, but I am really grateful because throughout it, I am putting so many skills into practice, and it's truly something that I get so much fulfillment in the work that I'm doing, but also the purpose behind it. Now, focusing more on like elevating women-owned businesses, that's something that's very near and dear to my heart. So I very much appreciate getting to do that every day.
And it sounds like your work is not for the feeble, to say the least. It's an ordeal to do what you do. Yeah.
Sorry?
It's a lot to do what you do. It's not just a casual wake up and go to work.
Yeah, it's definitely a full-time job, and you'll hear from business owners, social media in itself, it really is a full-time job, and that's why positions like this exist of social media managers, content creators. It's because it is a workload.
Thank you. Oh, I had the next question, didn't I? That's my bad. I didn't turn the page. Marquand, you're a university student and also launched an event planning company, Adore Hospitality. Can you tell us a little bit more about your business and why you started it? And, how it connects with your current degree path?
For sure, yeah. So on my first day of college as a freshman, I went to a nightclub. But when I went to this nightclub, the event was oversold by probably 200 people. So it was overly packed and dense in a small club in Minneapolis. I went to this club and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is perfect because we're all first-year students. We're going to be able to meet so many people, interact, and get to know each other. I ain't walk out of a club with any new connections. It was also very expensive to go to this club. And the atmosphere just wasn't something that I was really wanting to be in. So I went back to my dorm room that night and I said, well, I have experience as a DJ, so I know how to play music and host a party. I have event planning experience from the nonprofits I've worked for. And I know graphic design, social media, etc. What if I started hosting my own events catered for college students or 18 to 24-year-olds? And that's how Adore Hospitality was born, just through going to a nightclub and then cultivating an idea in my dorm room. And what we do at Adore is we host innovative social events that curate real connections. So what we do is we partner with local businesses and we say, okay, how can we boost your revenue and sales by bringing in a college demographic to your venue? And there's a huge value proposition in that because a lot of students live in these college communities and they're not interacting with their local community. So we have St. Thomas students who are not from the Twin Cities, from different states and different areas that aren't interacting with the businesses on McAllister Groveland or the businesses on Summit. And what I was able to do as a Minnesota native is bridge that gap and say, how can we get you to interact with the local community you're going to school with? And that really aligns to my degree plan because I'm studying digital media arts, marketing management, and a minor in music industry. Is I'm pretty much taking all three of those different degrees I'm studying in and doing that work as an entrepreneur, as the founder and CEO of Adore. So when you talk about the digital media arts, all of our video work and social media is done in-house. When we talk about I'm trying to think about my degrees. Marketing management. We're doing all the social media marketing, all the SEO marketing, the website marketing. We're not paying anyone else to do that for us. And then when we talk about that music industry minor, I'm also booking the talent that's performing and playing at these events we're hosting. And it actually turns out really well. We were able to boost the revenue of Emmett's Public House and Saji'a by 129% in our first event. So the model really works, and we're just trying to transfer the model to more events more frequently and also more college towns in the local Midwest.
So as soon as you leave the classroom, you're already planning how to apply these skills into your own work?
Of course, I think that was a big reason why I chose St. Thomas was because I knew that through the new Schoenecker Center they just recently built, which is a multi-million-dollar facility that has all the newest recording equipment, all the newest audio engineering, and teachers that are actually working in the industries that they're teaching. Whenever I leave class, I'm always inspired about how I can apply what I'm learning in class to something I'm doing in my life actively, whether that be with Adore or the other ventures I have.
Thank you, Ali. Oh, Marquand, I'm sorry. Jesus.
Marquand, I love how you're like, I went to a party and I didn't like it, so I went home and I started an amazing business, because I'm thinking I would just go to Chipotle after parties I didn't like when I was in college. So you're definitely very impressive, making the most of that time, which is actually really, really admirable. Jessica, I feel like sometimes students have this year, their first year, after high school, and they may not know exactly what's next, but time is passing. Are there certain resources that people need in that year, that these young adults need in that year that maybe they're not getting, or is there a gap there?
There definitely is a gap. This is something that is also termed summer melt. So for students that are exiting high school, they have got this transition during the summer, whether they're enrolling into an institution, maybe beginning to work. What does that transition actually look like for them? And where can they get support in their community, or if it's still in the school or at home? As a program, we continue to support our students a year beyond high school. For many of our students here in state and across the country, they may not have those services available to them. So how do they begin to craft together a circle of support, whether this be family, friends, at a workplace, employers, mentors that support them, coaches, teachers? To your point, Marquand, that first year is so critical. And even that first day, getting there on a campus or working your first day and not knowing, what am I supposed to wear? Is there etiquette, mannerisms that I'm supposed to know? A lot of this unwritten curriculum that isn't taught to our students, and how they tap into a number of those resources. I will say here in state, there are a number of community organizations that do this already, and ensuring that students are aware of, where that is and who they can reach out to. I think it comes back to, there's so much pressure when you are a senior, when you exit high school, to know exactly what you're doing and how to do it, and not feeling like you can ask for help or ask questions. There's a whole community here, even in this space, that are ready to support our students, but beginning to just demystify that you have to do this by yourself. You don't. For our students who are listening, you're not alone.
Wow. And I think, too, that people feel more comfortable exploring careers that weren't traditional? I don't know. I mean, I wonder, Frida, with social media, again, you've alluded to this before, but it's just so much work. It's some people's entire marketing strategy for their entire brand, their entire company. But still, it feels like sometimes there's a stigma attached that it's just like silly, like you're just willy-nilly posting things here, like, oh, here's a selfie and here's a this and that. And I just wonder, what is it like to be in that space? Like, what are you kind of up against?
The social media space is very interesting because I feel like what most people see when they think of like, oh, social media marketing is like an influencer, like showing
Right.
a product or whatnot. But think about these brands that have to use social media to generate profit, to generate leads, whether it's for events, whether it's for, like a provider, like a injector, a hairstylist, like how are they getting their clients? Social media as a community, we are so connected with it, and businesses, entrepreneurs have to use it so that it works for them and their business. So, as someone that's in the space, I can tell you, not only is there, the creative aspect of it of like, yeah, we are creating content, but it's not just creating content, like content for it to work and to speak to that business's target audience has to have a strategy behind it. So there is content marketing, there's also platform marketing and strategies. How do the algorithms work? It's not just posting to post, but like, what hours does it work for your business? What kind of content is actually generating link clicks and product buys and things like that. So there's a lot that goes into it. And within the world of social media marketing, there's several positions, so there could be someone that's exclusively working on the creative of content, that within itself, having the skills to get good photos, get good video editing, such an underrated skill that takes so much time and effort. Good editors, there's so many amazing editors out there, and I don't think they get the recognition of like, whoa, like that takes a lot of time to make a video, to make an ad. And then also the strategy part, not just with organic strategies, but also with paid ad content. So all of those things revolve around social media, and it goes beyond just posting with a product or speaking about your experience at a certain place.
Right. Because you're also trying to find a way to make this feel natural, right? Like this isn't just me throwing an ad at you. This is content as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah, and I assume like 20 years ago, these types of roles didn't really exist in this modern capacity. So Ali, there are so many changing nuances, jobs, roles, and positions in this world now. So how are you helping young people navigate this plethora of new career paths?
Yeah, not every kid needs 4-year degree talk. So my job is to, sit down and identify their strengths and their interest, and then we map it out how we can execute and make it real. I've had a lot of students come in to me and exactly talking about they want to be influencers, that's straight from high school then. And for me, it's like, okay, I need to be educated because I don't really know how you can go about it. So students will sit down and then they already know how they're going to be going about that, and then that's their choice. So we always try to sit down, and our job is for them to graduate high school. So that's the first thing before you even think about pursuing post-secondary. So I focus on getting the students who are struggling and finding out the ways that they can cut up for their work, and then we have after school credit recoveries that the students do, and then when we help them cut up, then that's when we sit down. But we always tell students just whatever you want to be, you can be. And if that is traditional college ways, And I know a lot of IT and this social media stuff's going up, but a lot of students that I have conversation with always tell me that they want to go to college. And the majority of our students are actually pursuing, traditional college, and also trades are also. I see a lot of students wants to go in that direction. So we have seen a lot of rise of the trades and apprenticeship, because those are you can earn while you're working. So you can get paid while you're learning, and some of those specific field. They're 70,000 a year, so that's a good start for a young kid who has a dream and he wants to pursue. And we talk about counseling. Sometimes it's like, okay, where is that going? And I said, yeah, I know AI is now doing a lot of work to be a counselor and helping the students navigate what they want. But there is something that they cannot change. The human in us, when we're sitting down with the students, building those connections, I don't think that AI can change. So, yeah.
AI is a big thing right now, and it's hard to know what it's going to mean in 1 year or what it's going to mean in 30 years. And I wonder, Jessica, from your perspective, when you're talking to any students about choosing a career path, are people thinking right now about artificial intelligence and what is that going to look like for my chosen career path?
So coming back to the first question, I think there are so many career options available for students, and we see much of this where AI is now embedded as part of that. Necessarily some of the job responsibilities that someone may have had is now something that is done with AI. And it's something to consider and something to discuss with students. There are aspects of the work, back to what you had said, Ali, that can't be done with AI. A lot of the human factors, the communication, the problem solving that can't be generated on a computer database or any AI platform, and how to help students continue to develop those skills when it comes to communication, the interpersonal skills, the problem solving. I know we hear so many of our students say it's incredibly challenging and nerve-wracking to sit in front of others and do public speaking. Those are pieces that can't be translated. Same with the personal connections that are made. I think when we think of work, we think so much of, I need to be able to do my job duties. But it's the personal relationships you also establish along that way, and that networking aspect that can't be taken away from AI, and how to continue to help students develop that while they're in school, in college, when they're working, when we as professionals, these are areas we can continue to craft and refine.
Just as a follow-up, are there any specific career paths that you see right now as lending themselves particularly well to AI?
I will say I'm not an expert in AI in the career realm, but I think we're beginning to see this in the realm of IT and technology, where we're seeing quite a bit of positions that are now not necessarily being replaced by AI, but are folks who are managing AI systems now. And that project management component that comes in, you may not need to know how to code or use these systems, but you've got to be able to maintain them in some capacity and ensure that they're doing what they need to do.
I really want to give some grace to what Ali said earlier, that all of these, AI can't replace the heart that comes with a lot of these tasks. AI can't replace the heart that goes into your social media campaigns and the efforts that you put into your clients, the amount of dedication that you have to put in for organizing your events, Marquand, or I don't think ChatGPT can cut a heart-shaped window yet, but we'll see someday. I would also like to remind everyone that we are nearing the end of our panel discussion. We will begin the Q&A sessions very soon, and if you do have any questions for any of our lovely panelists, please text them to 1-844-237700. Again, that number is 1-844-230-7700. So I want to go back to our recent high school graduates. Congratulations, by the way. You all have overcome quite a few obstacles to get to the point that you are at now. I'm curious, would you take the same path that you did and take these same decisions to get to where you are today? What would you have done differently as well? Frida, I'd like to hear from you first.
Yes, I would absolutely take the same path. I feel like I have gained a lot of connections, kind of similar to some of the conversations we were having earlier, that at a very young age that I really do value, and I feel like it's given me not only a chance to learn about social media and like the marketing of it all, but really also learn interpersonal skills. With managing your own business, there are things like contracts that come into place and accounting and what happens when you have problems with a client or a contractor that I hire on, and those are things that I've been able to get very confident with at a very young age. So for that, I am grateful. I also feel like just in a very personal level, really betting on myself that I could make a business for myself, that I could be successful in a way that, maybe my peers weren't pursuing or my family even encouraged me at the beginning to do. That self-belief is something that I'm going to carry into anything else that I do, and I am very grateful for just being able to see that path and have the opportunity to explore this, idea and concept that I had for what my life was going to look like post high school. And I would say some of difficulties. I don't know if I would do anything necessarily differently, but there are some cons, as far as we talked about, going into college, you do have a sense of community, and you also have a sense of relatability to your peers. They're also struggling with the same things that you are. There were times where I would just be working at my desk alone, and I was very much like, what am I doing? And problems or hurdles would come into place, and I had to many times kind of figure them out on my own. And I do think that's a strength within itself, and nothing to kind of be like, oh, this is a con, you have to figure it out all on your own. No, life is like that, whether you go to college, whether you don't. And another thing is you have to discipline yourself to show up every day in the same way that you would if you were taking the traditional four-year college path, waking up, getting ready, looking for clients, putting yourself out there, doing your work, turning in things on time. And you kind of have to do that on your own, whereas when you go to, an institution, they're kind of guiding you through that. So coming right out of high school, that can be a little bit hard to maybe get into right off the bat, right? So I struggled at the beginning with discipline, and those are things that I'm working on every single day. But yes, all to say, I would take the same path.
And Marquand, kind of building on that, I don't know if you would take the same path or not, but are there things you see as pros and cons to the traditional degree path?
Yeah. You want me to answer both questions?
Sure.
Okay. So for the first question, I don't regret a thing. I truly don't. I think that college is probably the most safe environment for me to be developmentally at this time of my life right now. It's so funny because when my freshman year, I was thinking about, I'm going to rush through college, I'm going to graduate, and this and that. And now I'm like, I'm very thankful for the opportunity just to be where I'm at. One of my cousins told me, once you get out of college, all you're going to do is work and pay bills. So now I really look at things differently, especially as I'm about to turn 20. I'm like, wow, let me just enjoy the moment where I'm at. So no, I don't regret a thing. And then to your second question, you were asking around
Pros and cons, or do you feel like there are any cons?
With anything with a price tag attached to it, there's a level of commitment that you have to take when you're doing something like college. I'm very thankful to have a great scholarship at St. Thomas, but regardless of having a scholarship or not, there's still a level of expectation that I have to go and perform at in order to keep my scholarship. So I would say school is also like very mentally stressing on you. Like it does a lot on your mental health, you know. Especially for me, like first year of college, living on campus. You know, I lived in my house for 18 years of my life. I never moved anywhere. I've lived with my mom and my grandmother. So to be in an environment where you're not around, parental figures, and you can do whatever you want. In the grand scheme of things, it's kind of like a big change for someone who's been in a family environment their whole life that was very grounded and structured. I think another con about like college would be like time. Like it's not like even for a 2-year degree, but like I'm taking a 4-year route. It's not like you're in and you're out. Like there's a lot of time and commitment that you have to put into it, and it has to be very thoughtful and thought through. But the number one con for me, as I think about this all the time, being a Tommy, is that the network that you're able to have and expand and grow on. Just alone 2 years, like I've been in college, the network I've built, it's like wow. Like the people I've met, the connections I've made, I would have never guessed that it would have been like that in college. And that's one reason why I really enjoy being at St. Thomas, because the alumni and the connections that the university always brings for the students is amazing.
Marquand, I'm going to confirm that once you do graduate, it is just bills and crying about your rent payments. Learned that the hard way 2 years ago. So, Jalea, I actually have a cousin who also went straight into the trades after high school, and he echoed to me once that he does sometimes miss the traditional college experience. Like he sometimes wishes that he did get to go to parties with his classmates or whatever, what have you. He'll crash at my apartment and experience that by proxy, but and I want to know, do you feel like you missed out on anything, or are you happy with the path that you took?
I definitely wish I had that kind of experience of getting to know people my age and like having connections with like the younger generation and like figure out the lingo and going to parties, waking up hungover the next day and trying to focus on what letters are on the screen. I definitely wish I got to go through that. Believe me, it's nice. It's nice seeing a paycheck come in. It's nice seeing how everything is growing. It's a little nice seeing the seasons change, but the winter, no thank you. But just knowing the fact that I cannot have a connection with somebody who's going to college who's like, oh, I'm learning this, this, and this, and they say a giant word, and I'm like just sitting there flabbergasted and just looking up the definition on my phone around the corner. But it's just, I definitely do think I missed out on what it feels like to be in your 20s and seeing what it's like to having to a middle ground between adulting and having the little bit of freedom you have left. But I don't regret it. It made me a person who I am today. I get to feel more mature, I get to feel mature for my age personally. And I am a little scared of alcohol because if I go on a scissor lift while driving hungover, I might ruin a wall. So I definitely do regret it, but without it, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So love-hate relationship for sure.
Of course, and these decisions aren't easy. It's not like you woke up and decided, yep, easy, trades all the way.
Yeah.
I wanted, before we get to our audience questions, to give everyone the chance to answer one question. And it's just if you had something top of mind, because I know there are a lot of things, and we'll start with you, Jessica. What is the first thing you would say to someone, a bit of advice for maybe a junior or senior who's trying to determine their next steps? Like, what comes to you immediately?
What comes to me right away is explore your options. I think there's a lot of pressure to know exactly where we want to be 5, 10 years down the line when we're in your retirement, it's okay not to know. What's most important is really knowing what you don't like and what you don't want to do. That'll get you in the direction you're needing to go.
Ali, what would you give as advice?
I would say for the seniors that are graduating now, apply as much as you can and take deadlines seriously. Don't wait. Put calendar. Learn how to use the calendar. Set reminders. And what you have become doesn't determine who you are. So just explore your options. There is plenty of options. If you concerned about how to pay your college or concerned about what college you want to go, just talk to your close ones. Talk to your counselors, teachers. They will be able to help you. So yeah.
Jalea?
I agree. Do explore your options, and also don't be afraid to say no, but make sure you give enough room to say yes. Explore, and if something sounds nerve-wracking and you feel just uncomfortable about it, say yes. The uncomfortable is excitement. It's you opening up to something new. If you don't know what you want to do, just follow someone. Just take after their footsteps, and if it's not for you, it's not for you. You have time to change, and no matter what age you are, there is still more options for your future.
Marquand?
Yeah, so when I was a freshman in high school, I thought probably the only way for me to get a full ride scholarship would to be playing sports. And my advice would to be well-rounded. I changed my whole trajectory around my junior year. I stopped playing football. I worked hard on getting immersed in public media and digital media arts, and working on my career while also building my grades up in school. And through being well-rounded, I was able to get a full ride scholarship at St. Thomas. So it was totally not what I expected was going to be what happened. But a lot of students that I went to high school with asked me, well, Marquand, how did you get your scholarship? Were you in a bunch of AP courses? Were you doing PSEO? And I'm like, no, I wasn't. But the one thing I really am proud of myself for doing is being well-rounded and being involved in a lot of different avenues, because I don't think that I would have definitely been at the place I am now without being immersed in a lot of different things.
And that also helps you decide what you don't like when you do explore. And how about you, Frida?
Yeah, I would kind of take a similar lens to that of allowing yourself to see things through. I really believe that most of us have a innate, whether you want to call it passion, whether you want to call it interest, most of us have some sort of interest or kind of goal in mind. And it's often fear that kind of lets us forget about it, or even when you're in that high school environment, it can be very easy to get mixed up with what are my friends doing? What does my dad want me to do? My mom, what are people going to think about me for pursuing X and Y? And really try to take yourself out of that. Sit with yourself and ask yourself. I remember I did this in the mirror. I looked at myself and I was like, Frida, what do you want for yourself? What's going to make you happy and make you excited? And have that conversation with yourself and give yourself the opportunity to look, to explore and see it through, whether that is going to the traditional four-year college, whether it's taking some time to, explore something different, do something creative. Allow yourself to see your vision through and see if it's something you want to pursue. And you're still young. Later on, if you change your mind, that's okay. And it kind of similar to what someone mentioned, you can always switch up and decide to do something different.
There was a piece of advice that my brother-in-law gave me. He went to get his undergrad when he was about 26, I think, and said you can't compare yourself. You can't judge yourself on other people's timeline. We're all moving at our own pace. And I think that's something that all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us have been able to share tonight. So thank you so much. And thank you all so much for offering such honest advice. I'm sure our listeners somewhere out there really appreciated it today. And with that, it's been our time for our panel, and we're going to move on to the Q&A portion of the event. We've been collecting questions from all of you all evening, and we've selected as many as we could to fit into the time that we do have left. Nina, did you want to ask the first one?
Sure. We have a question for Jalea, and it says, the trades can feel very male-dominated. What would you say to young women considering the trades?
Do it. They are just boys trapped in men's bodies, not in a rude way, but they're funny, they're goofy, they're messy, they're stinky. But once you get to know them, they really have a kind heart, and they are willing to see women thrive. At least my coworkers want to see me thrive and grow, and it's a different insight. So I would say, definitely be yourself. Don't be scared. If you hear anything you don't want to hear, or if you get told that you look like something, sound like something, or I thought about you during this time, just say, I don't like that. Tell somebody. Somebody will always have your back, male or female. And personally, I have women coworkers and they/them coworkers who have my back if I didn't hear something, or if I didn't notice something. They let me know, hey, that wasn't right of them to do. If you're uncomfortable with it, I can talk to them, and things will get resolved if you have somebody in your corner.
Thank you. This next question is for Frida, Marquand, and Jalea. How did your high school experience play a role in your post-graduation decisions?
I actually didn't have the best high school experience, I would say, and not to blame anything, but I pretty much I grew up in Puerto Rico, and I moved into the States kind of middle in between a semester in high school. And I had a really hard time, relating to, the culture here. School culture is very different to that of Puerto Rico. And also, I didn't have much of a social life in high school. And I do feel like, weirdly, that made me not crave the experience of college as much. So I know we kind of talked about, do you miss do you feel like you missed out on that experience of college? And me personally, it's something that I wasn't super drawn to. And I think that when it came to weighing whether or not I wanted to go to college and traditional 4-year college, that came into place. I also asked myself do I want that kind of lifestyle, environment? And it wasn't very attractive to me in the moment. And I want to say that also just had to do with how much I was just within myself during my high school period.
Mm-hmm. And Marquand?
Yeah. Well, after I stopped playing football, I got really immersed into working in public media. So I worked for PBS. I was a part of a cohort called Don't Believe the Hype, and through that program and connections to other programs like 360 Journalism, I got really immersed into the, other fields that ended up being kind of what I'm studying in high school. So that influenced me heavily about the decision I made for college, because I had a connection at St. Thomas before I was even a student at St. Thomas, which was huge because I already felt somewhat a part of that community. And that really ended up being why I chose St. Thomas as a school I now attend. So.
And Jalea?
I didn't really get to have a high school experience. I went to 4 different high schools, and then I landed on Paddling. That's the school that I graduated from. Me personally, I was very to myself. I was friends with everyone. I was the nicest person around. Asked me to do something, and I'm there. But I didn't feel like I had many friends. I had acquaintances, yes, but I never had any friends to speak to personally. But yeah, I wasn't really out there. I tried some sports, noticed I was too slow of a runner, didn't throw the ball very far, or just I was very self-conscious about myself, so I just kind of quit it and hit the road. So I'm a people pleaser, so I just kind of smiled and waved and went back home to my room and watched Netflix for the rest of the night. So yeah.
And our next question from the audience is, Frida, starting your own business right out of high school is a big, brave step. Now, are there practical steps you would tell high school students that want to follow in your footsteps?
Ooh, I like that question. Fine. You know, I would say, again, give yourself the opportunity to see it through. Whether that's through educating yourself about how what you're going to offer within your business and making sure whether you have a good product or a good service. See it through, give yourself the opportunity to see, am I equipped to do this? And, I think it's definitely a commitment, starting your own business, and especially if you are going to be supporting yourself through that. You have to know that it's going to take discipline, it's going to take work. It's not just something fun that you do today and tomorrow and next week. It's something that every day you really have to show out for, to eventually see some sort of return from it. But with that said, also too, as you're seeing it through, don't feel like things are going to happen tomorrow. So again, stay consistent with what it is that you're working with. Seek help if you can. I feel like I tried to do a lot of things on my own, and as I've kind of experienced life after that, I tell a lot of friends and people kind of on that same boat of like, seek help, see who can help you, who's done it before, and really stay consistent. I think consistency ultimately will lead to you being able to really accomplish what you'd like to do with that business. So yeah, I guess those would be kind of like my advice.
Yeah. Thank you for that, because I think sometimes young people have a hard time even envisioning, and they're like, can I even do something like that? So that's why it's really cool to have all of your individual stories up here so that people can see, hey, there's people doing stuff that I dream about. So I think that's really cool. We've got another audience question here, and I want to kick this one to Jessica. With enrollment declining, especially among low-income and first-generation students, how do we create systems that support all learners, whether they pursue non-traditional workforce pathways or a four-year degree? And how can higher education institutions be held accountable to expand access and redesign their structures so that college remains relevant and attainable for every community, not just the privileged few? So that was kind of a long one, but we can break that down.
No, thank you for the question. I think this as, a grant program here in the state of Minnesota, we really try to address. We see a lot of the systems put in place that do not support our low-income, first-generation Indigenous students and communities of color here in Minnesota, and how to begin to build a solid foundation or enhance what's already in place. With a number of our districts and schools, they're doing an incredible job. What we're seeing is, capacity limits where we can only work so many hours in a day. There's a lot of grounding that needs to continue happening in terms of staff professional development, looking at systems and how you develop something like a post-secondary leadership team, which is a commitment with not just school systems, but the communities and institutions of higher education to do this work collectively. What I've seen in my years in education is a lot of this work is happening, but it's happening in silos, and how to begin to break down those barriers and make those connections. We're all here for students at the end of the day. So how do we lean into each other as we're looking at K-12 school systems, institutions of higher education, and the number of college access partners that are available here in the Twin Cities, from College Possible to our TRIO programs to Breakthrough and Achieve. That doesn't even list all of them. How do we come together to support students collectively together and ensure that, their parents, family, guardians are aware of the opportunities made available to them? This really is a commitment with our program, and I'm seeing here in the state and so many of our partners here across their school systems it's about students at the end of the day. How can we do this work together? We're seeing quite a bit of this built into here with a number of programs, like I talked about with direct admissions, our North Star Promise Scholarship, with the Department of DLI, having a dual pipeline training program that connects those who are looking to go into apprenticeship directly into a platform and an employer. These are systems that are kind of happening, but it doesn't always get to, those that we should be serving, how to continue to make those connections and awareness to the public that this is available and how do we begin to access it and where do we get started?
Ollie, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I would say there are a lot of, programs that are available to our students, especially Twin Cities. Like North Star Promises, it's a money that can support students who are low income or low income families. Direct admissions where students are automatically admitted to colleges. So there is a lot of work that are done, but there is a lot more to go.
Ali, this is a personal question from me actually, and I'm sorry if this is selfish, but I guess, how do you help a student who maybe doesn't have any plan, doesn't have any idea on what they do want for themselves? I know I was in that position my senior year of high school, and I didn't know what to do with myself.
Yeah, same. I was the same thing. When I was graduating high school, I didn't have any plan. I didn't know what to do. But the things that I knew was I need to go to college, but I really didn't know what it means. I came this country as a teenager, and I started high school. I had a language barrier at that time, so with no plan. So I have seen a lot of students who don't have it to this day. But I always tell them, it's okay. It's okay to not have any plan, but once you graduate high school, what are the options? So we explore options together, show them the things that they can do or the things that are available to them, and then we see them throughout the school year. So the whole senior year, if there are students who don't have a plan, we sit down, we make sure, we come back to the plans, and we have a roadmaps that we help them navigate. And sometimes it's their strengths. Sometimes they will tell you things that they are good at, and then we show them options, that are available to them. And we tell them, hey, it's okay to not know anything when you go in college, because you can change your major so many times. And sometimes we give them our personal stories as well, where I changed 3 times my major. And yeah, so we have a whole year-long plan, students who don't have any plans.
And Ali, how about some of the more social and developmental aspect of things? I know Marquand was talking a little bit about the huge transition that it is for somebody at 18 years old to go from living at home to living with much more freedom in this maybe semi-adulthood that's going on. Is that preparation that you think happens enough in high school, or are people coming into college kind of with no background on how to navigate that?
Excuse me, sorry. So we have college exposures. So we take students to a college field trips for them to see, firsthand. We have college reps throughout the state, I believe, that comes to our building, that show students what they need. But sometimes mental health is real, and we always tell our students to take care of your mental health. We have a school-based clinic, therapy in our building. So if students are going through, hardship, we tell them, hey, why don't you sit down and have, therapy in our school. And the thing that I always tell the students is there isn't anything wrong with therapy. Therapy is a way that can help you figure out your challenges and show you how to cope with those challenges that you're going through. So a lot of students take advantage of, those mental health therapist opportunities that we have. But we always tell our students, it's okay to not feel okay, you know. So senior year is always the scariest time because when they're leaving high school, they already had a mindset or developed relationship with their peers, and then moving away and going to maybe a college that they don't even know anybody. It's kind of like scary. But it's always like, you know, it's a learning opportunity. If you need help, always go back to your loved ones and have conversation with them.
Marquand, anything that you wish that had been available around like that type of a transition, or anything you can think of that would be helpful?
It's a great question. Yeah, everything that you mentioned, Ollie, sounds like something that I think is great for that transitional period. But I just think that somewhat like the experience is just something that I think everyone has to navigate in their own lens, in a sense. Because for some people, like, there's some people that like were like, oh my gosh, if my parents are around, this is the best thing in my life, you know. And I'm like freaking out because I'm like, I'm used to home cooked meals and, you know, being surrounded by people I love. So I think everyone has their own individual aspect to it. But the one thing that I feel like was troublesome for me was the maintaining relationships in college. I think that I don't want to necessarily attribute it all to COVID, but I think that young people have difficulties maintaining personal relationships with people, and then when you tie in living with people along with those like interpersonal relationships, I feel like that's where it can become troublesome. And I don't know what the fix for that is, unfortunately, but it's something that I experienced last year a lot.
Yeah, there's so much to navigate, but one common thread I heard from all of you tonight is that it is okay to ask for help, right? Just because you left high school and you're an adult, it doesn't mean you have to figure everything out on your own. There's so much to navigate, from the finances to the choices to the emotional changes and all of those things. And you have helped so many people tonight with your answers, and we really appreciate it. And we also appreciate all these wonderful questions from our audience. Let's give ourselves a round of applause. Thank you all so much. Thanks again to our panelists, Frida Torres McCall, an independent social media marketer and the founder of That Social Invite, Marquand Harper, a sophomore at the University of St. Thomas, double majoring in digital media arts and marketing management, Jalea Johnson, who's enrolled at the Finishing Trades Institute of the Upper Midwest as a second-year glazer apprentice for the Empire House, Ali Osman, a counselor at South High School in Minneapolis, and Jessica Yang, the senior implementation manager at the Get Ready Gear Up Minnesota program administered through the Minnesota Office of Higher Education. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you to everyone who joined us via live stream tonight, and those of us here at St. Paul Neighborhood Network right now. Finally, thank you to the people at Sahan Journal and NPR News who made this conversation happen, and we all hope that you all have a great night and get home safe. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, you're free to get up now. It's kind of like you're getting off the roller coaster, and everyone did this with the arm.